part 2 of chapter 22, I think we were up to. My trusty keyboard blipped us off. I forgot to move it, so I moved it just now. And so we're back. It's the 7th of October 2025. The time is now 11:29 a.m. and welcome to Titania's Realm, sacred space where everything and anything can happen all at once, including self-sabotage of my own YouTube channel, reading you stories. But anyway, it is what it is, people of Earth. We'll continue on. Oh yes, I was just saying that I was of Scottish and German descent, so I can pronounce the CHs like the best of them, and it came out as like a giant hoik and then blip. So there's kind of a comedy in that. My angel's playing with me nicely, and just interrupt us of the contributions of Tanya is frustrating and a bit silly sometimes. Anyway, where were we? All the land was cold and desolate, and he looked about him with little hope, standing at the foot of a great fall of stones beneath a sheer rock wall. And he knew not that this was all that was now left to see of the old way of escape. The dry river was blocked, and the arched gate was buried. What's my little snooks doing? Just going to go and stir up my little snookies. Listen, why are you dropping bits of crap all over the floor? I just cleaned that up this morning. You're having the best time, living your best lives, being the best possible foodies you can be. Aren't you? Come on, my little ones. Come on. Come boy. Come on. No. You're less frightened of me though, Bo. I'm trying to tame them down. It's a long, slow, bloody process. What can I say? Anyway, where were we? The arched gate was buried. Then Huron looked up to the grey sky, thinking that he might once more descry the eagles as he had done long ago in his youth. But he saw only the shadows blown from the east, and clouds swirling about the inaccessible peaks. And he heard only the wind hissing over the stones. Sounds lonely and bleak, doesn't it? Lonely and bleak, people. It's bloody just gone up to 29 degrees here. Lonely and bleak, but hot and sunny. It's not all that bleak though. Attitude is everything, people of Earth. I'm a beautiful woman in my own weird way. Someone out there will love me one fine day. Be careful what you ask for. It's one fine day today. Right, calm your farm, Tanya Aarons. Calm your farm. But the watch, you have to laugh. But the watch of the great eagles was now redoubled, and they marked Huron well, far below, forlorn in the fading light, and straightway Thorondor himself, since the tidings seemed great, brought word to Turgon. But Turgon said, "Does Morgoth sleep? You were mistaken. Not so, said Thorondor. If the eagles of Manwe were wont to err thus, then long ago, Lord, your hiding would have been in vain. Then your words bode ill, said Turgon, for they can bear but one meaning. Even Buron Thalion has surrendered to the will of Morgoth. My heart is shut. But when Thorondor was gone, Turgon sat long in thought, and he was troubled, remembering the deeds of Hurin of Dor Lorming, and he opened his heart and sent to the eagles to seek for Hurin and to bring him, if they might, to Gondolin. But it was too late, and they never saw him again in light or in shadow. For Hurin stood in despair before the silent cliffs of the Echoriath. Had to pause for pronunciation emphasis. And I might even be pronouncing it wrong, which is why I laughed. And the westering sun, piercing the clouds, stained his white hair with red. Then he cried aloud in the wilderness, heedless of any ears, and he cursed the pitiless land. And standing at last upon a high rock, he looked towards Gondolin and called out in a great voice, Turgon, Turgon, remember the fen of Serach? O Turgon, were you not here in your hidden halls? Words carry energy, people of Earth, even if you can't be seen or heard physically. Words have power. And telepathy is a real thing. Some of us have it quite naturally, and it can be a bit of a bloody burden when you're picking up on energies of people that dishonoured you and don't seem to be all that bloody sorry. Shit happens, doesn't it? I'll have to shut down that conduit because there's no point in keeping my heart open for someone that wasn't real. Although my psychiatrist said it was real and the love was real and it wasn't a barmicide and I wasn't mad or deluded. It was just stymied and sabotaged by evil, as all my love relationships historically have been sabotaged. It is what it is, people of Earth. Sometimes there was my own sabotage at play, but this time I played it differently and the outcome was the same. Can't win. Either I lie in bed, squalid and stymied and spitefully dishonoured as an adulteress, or I don't lie in bed and maintain my honour and dignity and get treated like an adulteress anyway. It's a bit fucking absurd, isn't it? Wow. some ancient curse that I've been unable to completely crack open and empty out and heal, so only the gods know. Only the gods can know whose heart is truly mine and who'll be a real and good and true and authentic lover to me and partner and friend, perhaps even a business partner. Can't imagine how that would work out though, since I haven't been able to manifest my silversmithing business, but someone that won't care that I'm poor and alone and isolated and a bit eccentric. Someone that looks into my soul and sees my true value and treats me like a queen. Isn't it a beautiful fairy story? Might come true one day. Might not, but it might. Three Eye Atlas might slam us before that fairy story comes true, but it might not, and it might. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it be nobler of mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. It's twice that's come to my mind. I referenced that in my writing on Facebook this morning. Shakespeare. Do you know what Shakespeare actually means? Flopping your penis at someone. Whoever Shakespeare was had a delightful sense of humour. Billy Boy. Good old Billy Boy. Wills himself. Anyway, we continue on with the story, people of Earth. As I am, Titania, the storyteller, bearing witness to my own outrageous slings and arrows and the cataclysmic declension of Western civilization as we know it. Bearing witness, telling my stories, cleaving to my truth in a world gone rancid and madly insane and destructive and evil. There's good uns out there, people like me who hold our ground and speak truth. That's our power, and that's what our enemies fear and try to destroy. Truth. Love is the law, love under will. Hold your line, people of Earth. Don't let the evil ones. Don't gift them your power, or your love, or your strength, or your heart. Don't gift them your magic either. They've taken too much from me. Enough already. Thieves and vagabonds and lackluster curs. You took too much. And when it shall be returned to me, it shall be returned to me exponentially for eternity. A Silmarillion, shining radiant in the darkness of your empty, voided out Mother Hydra babies' husked hearts. And it will burn you, the evil ones, and emblazon and lighten up those of good hearts and pure intentions. And I know who you are too, my darlings. And I may yet be taken by surprise. Who stands up in honour and integrity and shows true courage and true manliness and true mettle. Might take me by surprise. I might even be astonished one day. I might even be proven wrong one day, although Mama T is very rarely wrong, unfortunately. Wish I were. Be nice to be wrong sometimes. But today we will not grieve. Today I'm wearing my sexiest dress and I'm strutting my stuff. I'm just going to cover my shoulder because I'm a lady, you know. Fine line. I ride. Femininity of the divine called upon into my own libidinous uprising and magic and joy and delight. Baby, baby, babies. What would you do with the Tanya if you knew how to handle her honouringly? It's hilarious, but it's also true. Alright, where were we? He's called out to Turgon. Will you not hear in your hidden halls my energy output, my calling you to stand and arise and shine in your own divinity, in your own glory, in your own humanness and womanness? Be the best version of yourselves. Be true. Homo sapiens sapiens. I send you love beyond vortices of time and space. Love is all we have left. Remember that. Even so they hissed. Oh, wait a minute, I missed a line. But there was no sound save the wind in the dry grasses. Sometimes your silence is deafening, and it speaks to me of weakness and cowardice and disrespect. So silence has its own music, people of Earth. It reaches its own crescendo too. Slapped basses and broken G-strings. Oh, that was a setup, wasn't it? Wow, that was... Let's find that young man again and thank him. Winding me up as he did. Little bastard. With his bridal whip veil, he kept poking at me. I've decided maybe that was a sign. Maybe I'm destined to get married again, although I can't think in my wildest nightmares that I would ever want to marry a human man ever again. Not one has been worthy of my heart, mind, body, loins, soul, intellect, emotions, to marry it. But you just don't know, do you? There might be a man out there who's worthy and demonstrates to me his truth and love and passion and loyalty to me. And that is a man that would be worthy of marrying, a word of marrying kind, you understand. Don't want to be entrapped or held in contract by a man like a fucking chattel or a possession. Ever, ever, ever. Didn't like it the last time, why would I like it ever again? I'm not a woman to be possessed. Ask the spirits how that goes when they try that from time to time. Even so they hissed in Serach at the sunset, he said, and as he spoke, the sun went behind the mountains of shadow, and a darkness fell about him, and the wind ceased, and there was silence in the waste. Birdies, you need to be outside, but it's so scathing hot out there. I'm thinking, my beautiful boys, listen to me. Round about 2ish in the afternoon, it starts to cool a little bit. We're going to go in the garden. Yes? You could go now, or you could go later. What do you say? It's your life. You have an input in how you run your lives, birdie boys. They're so good today. Look, they're sitting side by side in perfect harmonic resonance, just completely relaxed, being friends. Are you friends? Are you my lovely friends? Will you be my friend? Will you go? Come here. I think actually why they're sitting so quietly is they're enjoying the fan. It's bloody hot. It's bloody hot. Australia, come to Australia, they said. The weather's lovely, they said. The people are gorgeous and kind and you'll have a lovely life. Call bullshit on that one, by and large. Not have very nice experiences. I saw the angry astronaut, I don't know his real name, it's John something I think, talking about he's here currently in Australia. He said everything went wrong for me, everything, and I felt like commenting, but I refrained from it. This is not the lucky country for some. Hasn't been a lucky country for me. I lost everything over and over and over and over again. It's been a hellscape for me. But now with the post-COVIDian epoch, what country on earth could I go to where I could be treated with basic kindness and respect? We've all been altered as a species. But yeah, I found it interesting that he mentioned how awful everything had been, and then he thanked people for helping him out with something to do with his car hire. You know, he was like me. He was real and he was acknowledged the good amidst the fucking abject horror. So, but I found that quite academically interesting that someone else who comes from another country has experienced in a very short time of being here. It's only been here a few weeks. Nothing but trouble. It's odd, isn't it? Australia's a beautiful country, like the nature is so beautiful and the weather's in Brisbane anyway mostly hot. It should be idyllic and life should be wonderful. I blame it in Brisbane on the ley lines, something evil seeping up the river, all the years of flooding and drought and the history of the place, the bad treatment of the Indigenous peoples here. It leaves a stain, it marks a place for evil. It does. You treat people badly for long enough, they put out enough energy output that can last for millennia. Ley lines get tainted too. Or is it that the ley lines were already tainted and that's what drew in the evil? Because birds of a feather flock together, does it not? I'll try to think about it, whether it was which came first, the evil ley lines or the evil people staining the beautiful paradisical land. Wow. Let me read that sentence again. Even so they hissed and seraph at the sunset, he said, and as he spoke the sun went behind the mountains of shadow, and a darkness fell about him, and the wind ceased, and there was silence in the waste. Yet there were ears that heard the words that Huram spoke, and report of all came soon to the dark throne in the north, and Morgoth smiled, for he knew now clearly in what region Turgon dwelt, though, because of the eagles, no spy of his could yet come within sight of the land behind the encircling mountains. This was the first evil that the freedom of Húrin achieved. As darkness fell, Húrin stumbled from the rock and fell into a heavy sleep of grief. In my case, a long, long, grievous sleep. 20 years I slept. But I'm awake now, people of Earth. I'm awake at the 11th hour, just at the right time. Isn't that weird? The gods called me back from the brink of death itself 16 times and awakened me to bear witness to this world, this life, this unfolding eternal story. But in his sleep he heard the voice of Morwen lamenting, and often she spoke his name. And it seemed to him that her voice came out of Brithiel. Therefore, when he awoke with the coming of day, he arose and went back to the Brithiach, and, passing along the eaves of Brithiel, he came at a time of night to the crossings of Taiglin. The night sentinels saw him, but they were filled with dread, for they thought that they saw a ghost out of some ancient battle mound that walked with darkness about it. And therefore Húrin was not stayed, and he came at last to the place of the burning of Glaurung, and saw the tall stone standing near the brink of Cabed Nairamath. Just checking on what that was about, people of Earth. I'm by nature a curious person. Don't know. I'll never know now, will I? Curiosity killed the cat and information brought it back, but some things you're better off to not know. If you knew, you'd have to take action. And if you took action, you'd have to be demonized for having the courage of your convictions. Obfuscating of roles is how our planet turned into this fucking epic mess in the first instance. People who knew they were willfully destroying and depopulating knew it well, shilled it. Evil beyond worlds. Mammootty has spoken. The night sentinels saw him, but they were filled with dread, for they thought that they saw a ghost out of some ancient battle mound that walked with darkness about it, and therefore Hurin was not stayed, and he came at last to the place of the burning of Glaurung, and saw the tall stone standing near the brink of Kabed Nairamath. Interesting that I chose to repeat that paragraph almost unconsciously. Mammootty's writing some magical scene today. Can you tell? Blessed be. But Hurin did not look at the stone, for he knew what was written there, and his eyes had seen that he was not alone. Sitting in the shadow of the stone there was a woman bent over her knees, and as Hurin stood there silent, she cast back her tattered hood and lifted her face. Grey she was, and old, but suddenly her eyes looked into his, and he knew her, for though they were wild and full of fear, that light still gleamed in them that long ago had earned for her the name Elfwin, proudest and most beautiful of mortal women in the days of old. You come at last, she said. I have waited too long. It was a dark road. I have come as I could, he answered. But you are too late, said Morwen. They are lost. I know it, he said, but you are not. But Morwen said, almost. I am spent. I shall go with the sun. Now little time is left. If you know, tell me, how did she find him? But Hurin did not answer, and they sat beside the stone and did not speak again. And when the sun went down, Morwen sighed and clasped his hand and was still. And Hurin knew that she had died. He looked down at her in the twilight, and it seemed to him that the lines of grief and cruel hardship were smoothed away. She was not conquered, he said. And he closed her eyes and sat unmoving beside her as the night drew down. The waters of Kabed Nairamath roared on, but he heard no sound, and he saw nothing, and felt nothing, for his heart was stone within him. But there came a chill wind that drove sharp rain into his face, and he was roused, and anger rose in him like smoke, mastering reason, so that all his desire was to seek vengeance for his wrongs and for the wrongs of his kin, accusing in his anguish all those who ever had dealings with them. Then he rose up, and he made a grave for Morwen above Kabed Nairamath on the west side of the stone, and upon it he cut these words: Here lies also Morwen Elithwen. It is told that a seer and harp player of Brithiel named Glerhun made a song saying that the stone of the hapless should not be defiled by Morgoth, or ever thrown down, not though the sea should drown all the land, as after indeed befell. And still Tol Morwen stands alone in the water beyond the new coasts that were made in the days of the wrath of the Valar. But Hurin does not lie there, for his doom drove him on, and the shadow still followed him. Destiny, people, there. You can't escape it. Destiny. And real loves never leave you or play you for a fool. Destiny. Now Hurin crossed over Tyglen and passed southwards down the ancient road that led to Nargothrond. And he saw, far off to the eastward, the lonely height of Amon Ruth, and knew what had befallen there. At length he came to the banks of Narog, and ventured the passage of the wild river upon the fallen stones of the bridge, as Mablung of Doriath had ventured it before him. And he stood before the broken doors of Falagund, leaning upon his staff. Here it must be told that, after the departure of Glaurung, Mim the petty dwarf had found his way to Nargothrond, and crept within the ruined halls, and he took possession of them, and sat there, fingering the gold and the gems, letting them run ever through his hands, for none come nigh to despoil him from dread of the spirit of Glaurung and his very memory. But now one had come and stood upon the threshold, and men came forth and demanded to know his purpose. But Hurin said, "Who are you that would hinder me from entering the house of Finrod Felagund?" Then the dwarf answered, "I am Min, and before the proud ones came from over the sea, dwarves delved the halls of Nuluki's den. I have but returned to take what is mine, for I am the last of my people." "Then you shall enjoy your inheritance no longer," said Hurin, "for I am Hurin, son of Galdor, returned out of Angband, and my son was Turin Turambar, whom you have not forgotten. And he it was that slew Glaurung the dragon, who wasted these halls where now you sit. And not unknown is it to me by whom the dragon helm of Dolormen was betrayed." Then Mim in great fear besought Hurin to take what he would, but spare his life. But Hurin gave no heed to his prayer, and slew him there before the doors of Nargothrond. Then he entered in and stayed a while in that dreadful place, where the treasures of Valinor lay strewn upon the floors in darkness and decay. But it is told that when Hurin came forth from the wreck of Nargothrond and stood again beneath the sky, he bore with him out of all that great hoard but one thing only. Now Hurin journeyed eastward. I just had a funny thought. Sorry, I'm meandering. That made me laugh though. No, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. Anyway, it's just made me laugh. There's a suggestion came to me to paint a painting of two of the last former great loves of my life. Former for a reason. And as I painted these this skeleton couple, paint one each and hang them from my ears. That's why I'm laughing. Oh, spirits, you are funny. But I need no trophies of dead zombified men, or men that whose love turned to bitterness and rancor and treachery and death in my tongue. I don't need trophies. I have memories, good and bad, and I can nourish them or bury them according to my own feelings or mood states on any given day. sometimes I extricate the lovely memories and I blow life into them, and others I stomp them down like the goddess Kali into the ground of their own hatred and deception. It is what it is, people of Earth. The Mamati, built this way by the gods. It's a heavy burden and a heavy price, being misunderstood and devalued by other human mortals. But the gods might be crazy, but they know what they're doing. Of that, I have perfect faith. And my jewel is a jewel that can't be taken away or robbed of me, raped of me, slandered of me, destroyed of me. I might have lost the equivalent of 4 homes and business and friendships and men I thought were true loves. I might have watched them all wither away, crawl away, limp away. But I outlived them all. And as long as the gods decree it, I will continue to do so. And that jewel is an eternal flame built inside me, radiant and blessed at times. And in the right loving arms, a jewel that will blaze brilliantly for eternity. Mamati has spoken, influenced of course by the magic of the story and not necessarily real life that is bland and ugly and empty at times. Once you know how to emblazon your own jewel and cast another layer of nacre over your naked pearl, you become a queen that is not easily unseated, my darlings. Now Huron journeyed eastward, and he came to the meres of twilight above the falls of Sirion. And there he was taken by the elves that guarded the western marches of Doriath, and brought before King Thingol in the 1,000 caves. I just had a message. You doubted in your own power and wallowed vaingloriously, playing small to other people's melodies. But we are here to tell you, Tanya, you shine radiant and brilliant, and you are seen and heard, and you are loved by those whose hearts are pure and true. Have faith in us. Gratitude and bliss and blessing be upon us all. Amen, Vasila, on this first day of Sukkot, which has proven to be very spiritual for the Mamati indeed. It's like that. It comes and goes like waves. When we're riding the wave, we've got to surf it in the sunshine and the sea mist, surrounded by those who love us, plural. Not that I ever learned to surf, and that's why I've been dumped so many times and almost drowned many times too, but there is that. Now, Huron journey, I'm going to repeat that because I'm lost in space. I've got to come back to ordinary reality, people of Earth. Now, Huron journeyed eastward, and he came to the meres of twilight above the falls of Sirion, and there he was taken by the elves that guarded the western marches of Doriath, and brought before King Thingol in the 1,000 caves. Then Thingol was filled with wonder and grief when he looked on him, and knew that grim and aged man for Huron Thalion, the captive of Morgoth. But he greeted him fairly and showed him honour. Huron made no answer to the king, but drew forth from beneath his cloak that one thing which he had taken with him out of Nargothrond, excuse me, and that was no less a treasure than the Nauglamir, the necklace of the dwarves, that was made for Finrod Felagund long years before by the craftsmen of Nogrod and Belagost, most famed of all their works in the elder days, and prized by Finrod while he lived above all the treasures of Nargothrond. And Huron cast it at the feet of Thingol with wild and bitter words. Receive thou thy fee, he cried, for thy fair keeping of my children and my wife. For this is the Nauglamir, whose name is known to many among elves and men, and I bring it to thee out of the darkness of Nargothrond, where Finrod thy kinsman left it behind him when he set forth with Beren son of Barahir to fulfill the errand of Thingol of Doriath. Then Thingol looked upon the great treasure and knew it for the Nauglamir, and well did he understand Huron's intent. But being filled with pity, he restrained his wrath and endured Huron's scorn. And at the last, Melian spoke and said, Huron Thalion, Morgoth has bewitched thee, for he that seeth through Morgoth's eyes, willing or unwilling, seeth all things crooked. Long was Turin, thy son, fostered in the halls of Menegroth, and shown love and honour as the son of the king. and it was not by the king's will, nor by mine, that he came never back to Doriath. And afterwards thy wife and thy daughter were harboured here with honour and goodwill, and we sought by all means that we might to dissuade Morwen from the road to Nargothrond. With the voice of Morgoth thou dost now upbraid thy friends. And hearing the words of Melian, Hurin stood moveless, and he gazed long into the eyes of the queen. And there in Menegroth, defended still by the girdle of Melian from the darkness of the enemy, he read the truth of all that was done, and tasted at last the fullness of woe that was measured for him by Morgoth Balglir. And he spoke no more of what was past, but stooping, lifted up the Nalglamir from where it lay before Fingol's chair, and he gave it to him, saying, Receive now, Lord, the necklace of the dwarves as a gift from one who has nothing, and as a memorial of Hurin of Dor Lormin. For now my fate is fulfilled, and the purpose of Morgoth achieved, and I am his thrall no longer. Freedom in Another Paradigm, to quote Karen Chilton. I am no man's thrall. Enthralled though we might have been for a while with each other. My darling one. Thank you, Spirit. Then he turned away and passed out from the 1,000 caves, and all that saw him fell back before his face, and none sought to withstand his going, nor did any know whither he went. But it is said that Hurin would not live thereafter, being bereft of all purpose and desire, and cast himself at last into the western sea, and so ended the mightiest of the warriors of mortal men. And when Hurin was gone from Menegroth, Fingol sat long in silence, gazing upon the great treasure that lay upon his knees, and it came into his mind that it should be remade, and in it should be set the Silmaril. For as the years passed, Athingol's thought turned unceasingly to the jewel of Fionor and became bound to it, and he liked not to let it rest even behind the doors of his inmost treasury, and he was minded now to bear it with him always, waking and sleeping, which is the rightful purpose and fate of any great jewel. It is to be seen and held precious and beloved. So he is right to think that. Don't lock up in the shadows that whose radiance inspires the hearts of all that lives. Don't make prisoners of the love that is pure, hard-won, blessed and gracious. In those days the dwarfs still came on their journeys into Beleriand from their mansions in arid Lindon, and passing over Gilion at San Athrad, the ford of stones, they travelled the ancient road to Doriath. For their skill in the working of metal and stone was very great, and there was much need of their craft in the halls of Menegroth. But they came now no longer in small parties as aforetime, but in great companies, well armed for their protection in the perilous lands between Aros and Gilion. My beautiful birds are so quiet today. And they dwelt in Menegroth at such times in chambers and smithies set apart for them. Just going to stir them up just one moment. Multitasking. Oopsie. Narrow passage between two cages. What you doing? Mum is reading stories to the people there. Are you listening? Are you learning my energy signature? Are you falling in love with the mama tea? Go, Boaz. Go, show the people how you do kisses now. Go. Huh. Oh. Grammy, you gonna do the kisses? Let's do the kisses. Okay. Now I know that you're awake and you're stirred up. Because you're my pretty voice, that's why. That's why. I want you alive and happy in your own little bodies, minds and spirits. Right, I'm going back to the people of Earth. I've freaked you out. It's all good. Sometimes you've just got to stir people up and bring them back to full consciousness. Are we right? People being my birdie boys. What's the time now? 12:33. I think I'll take them out, as I said earlier, in the afternoon. It was so hot outside for them yesterday. They enjoyed it though. Do you want to go out now, or do you want to go out and we'll finish the story to the people of Earth, and then I'll put you out? How many more hours of reading have we got? Oh, not too much longer, boys. Too much longer and Mummy put you in the garden? Yes, we'll go in the garden. I'm getting hungry too. Hungry, Mama T. Hungry, Mama T. Hungry. I should go somewhere today, but I don't have much money. That's why I'm probably feeling a bit spirally. Just worrying about money. Always worrying about money. Money is an energy. It comes to me quickly and easily at the appointed time, gifted by the gods. I shouldn't worry. Worry is empty, wasted energy. So we're gonna ding, bing, shuck that off. Right, where were we? I'll repeat that whole first sentence because I got distracted by my handsome birdie boys. In those days the dwarves still came on their journeys into Beleriand and from their mansions to Ered Lindon. And passing over Gelion at Sarnathraed, the fort of stones, they travelled the ancient road to Doriath, for their skill in the working of metal and stone was very great, and there was much need of their craft in the halls of Menegroth. But they came now no longer in small parties as aforetime, but in great companies well armed for their protection in the perilous lands between Aros and Gelion, which is where I segued. And they dwelt in Menegroth at such times in chambers and smithies set apart for them. At that very time great craftsmen of Nogrod were lately come into Doriath, and the king therefore summoning them declared his desire, that if their skill were great enough, they should remake the Nauglamir, and in it set the Silmaril. Then the dwarves looked upon the work of their fathers, and they beheld with wonder the shining jewel of Fëanor, and they were filled with a great lust to possess them. This is the problem when you put your jewels out on display. Some lackluster, malfeasant, vicious little cur always wants what's yours instead of building their own, and carry them off to their far homes in the mountains. But they dissembled their mind and consented to the task. Long was their labour, and Thingol went down alone to their deep smithies, and sat ever among them as they worked, wise. In time his desire was achieved, and the greatest of the works of elves and dwarves were brought together and made one. And its beauty was very great, for now the countless jewels of the Nauglamir did reflect and cast abroad in marvellous hues the light of the Silmaril amidmost. Then Thingol, being alone among them, made to take it up and clasp it about his neck. But the dwarfs in that moment withheld it from him and demanded that he yield it up to them, saying, "By what right does the elven king lay claim to the Nauglamir that was made by our fathers for Finrod Felagund, who is dead? It has come to him but by the hand of Hurun, the man of Dor-lómin, who took it as a thief out of the darkness of Nargothrond." But Thingol perceived their hearts, and saw well that, desiring the Silmaril, they sought but a pretext and fair cloak for their true intent. And in his wrath and pride, he gave no heed to his peril, but spoke to them in scorn, saying, "How do ye of uncouth race dare to demand aught of me, Elu Thingol, Lord of Beleriand, whose life began by the waters of Cuthienin, years uncounted ere the fathers of the stunted people awoke?" Which is a very valid point, I might add. And standing tall and proud among them, he bade them with shameful words begone unrequited out of Doriath. Then the lust of the dwarfs was kindled to rage by the words of the king, and they rose up about him and laid hands on him and slew him as he stood. So died in the deep places of Menegroth Elwë Syngollo, king of Doriath, who alone of all the children of Ilúvatar was joined with one of the Ainur, and he who, alone of the forsaken elves, had seen the light of the trees of Valinor, with his last sight gazed upon the Silmaril. Then the dwarfs, taking the Nauglamir, passed out of Menegroth and fled eastwards through Eregion. But tidings went swiftly through the forest, and few of that company came over Aros, not to be confused with Arons, you understand. For they were pursued to the death as they sought the eastward road, and their Nauglamir was retaken and brought back in bitter grief to Melian, the queen. Yet, too, there were of the slayers of Thingol who escaped from the pursuit in the eastern marches, and returned at last to their city far off in the Blue Mountains. And there in Nogrod they told somewhat of all that had befallen, saying that the dwarfs were slain in Doriath by command of the Elven king, and who thus would cheat them of their reward. And then great was the wrath and lamentation of the dwarfs of Nogrod for the death of their kin and their great craftsman, and they tore their beards and wailed, and long they sat taking thought for vengeance. It is told that they asked aid from Belagost, but it was denied them, and the dwarves of Belagost sought to dissuade them from their purpose, but their counsel was unavailing, and ere long a great host came forth from Nogrod, and crossing over Gilion, marched westward through Beleriand. Upon Dariath a heavy change had fallen. Melian sat long in silence beside Thingol the king, and her thought passed back into the starlit years, and to their first meeting among the nightingales of Nan Almoth in ages past. And she knew that her parting from Thingol was the forerunner of a greater parting, and that the doom of Dariath was drawing nigh. For Melian was of the divine race of the Valar, and she was a Maya of great power and wisdom. But for love of Elwys and Golol, she took upon herself the form of the elder children of Ilúvatar, and in that union she became bound by the chain and trammels of the flesh of Arda. In that form she bore to him Luthien to New Viel, and in that form she gained a power over the substance of Arda, and by the girdle of Melian was Dariath defended through long ages from the evils without. But now Thingol was dead. Lay dead, and his spirit had passed into the halls of Mandos. And with his death a change came also upon Melian. Thus it came to pass that her power was withdrawn in that time from the forests of Neldoreth and Region, and Escaldun, the enchanted river, spoke with a different voice, and Dariath lay open to its enemies. I'm plutzing because the lawnmower man said he would come today and he hasn't, but I'm thinking he'll probably come late in the afternoon when it cools down, which would be sensible since this land is a bastard to mow in hot spring and summer and even autumn 9 months of the year. This land is a curse to all lawn mowing people. So I won't freak out just yet. I'm sure he'll turn up later. Thereafter Melian spoke to none save to Mablung only, bidding him take heed to the Silmaril, and to send word speedily to Beren and Luthien in Osiriant, and she vanished out of Middle-earth and passed to the land of the Valar beyond the western sea, to muse upon her sorrows in the gardens of Lorien, whence she came, and this tale speaks of her no more. Thus it was that the host of the now green, crossing over Aros, passed unhindered into the woods of Doriath, and none withstood them, for they were many and fierce. And the captains of the grey elves were cast into doubt and despair, and went hither and thither purposeless. But the dwarfs held on their way and passed over the great bridge and entered into Menagloth, and there befell a thing most grievous among the sorrowful deeds of the elder days. For there was battle in the 1,000 caves, and many elves and dwarves were slain, and it has not been forgotten. But the dwarves were victorious, and the halls of Thingol were ransacked and plundered. Dear goddess, how that could happen. An ignominy beyond worlds, people of earth. There fell Mablung of the heavy hand, before the doors of the treasury wherein lay the Naglamir, and the Silmaril was taken. At that time Beren and Luthien yet dwelt in Tol Galen, the Green Isle, in the river Adurant, the southernmost of the streams that, falling from Eredlindon, flowed down to join with Gilion, and their son, Dior Eluhil, had to wife Nimloth, kinswoman of Celeborn, Prince of Doriath, who was wedded to the Lady Galadriel, my favourite, Galadriel, with great power. She resisted the ring that rules them all, a temptation, and it took great power for her to resist, and for that she will ever be my heroine of the Queens of the Elves. Resisting temptation. Ah, well, shit. The sons of Dior and Nimloth were Elured and Elurim. And a daughter also was born to them, and she was named Alwyn, which is star spray, for she was born on a night of stars, whose light glittered in the spray of the waterfall of Lamphir Lamath beside her father's house. What a beautiful way to be named. Alwyn, star spray. I've seen those lights too, and the sprays of waterfalls. They are indeed beautiful. A prismatic life force of their very own. Like 3i Atlas, a rock that glows green and red. Interesting. Now word went swiftly among the elves of Osiriand that a great host of dwarves bearing gear of war had come down out of the mountains and passed over Gilion at the ford of stones. These tidings came soon to Beren and Luthien, and in that time also a messenger came to them out of Doriath, telling of what had befallen there. And then Beren arose and left Tol Galen, and summoning to him Dior his son, they went north to the river Askar, and with them went many of the green elves of the Osiriand. Thus it came to pass that when the dwarves of Nogrod, returning from Menegroth with diminished host, came again to San Athrad, they were assailed by unseen enemies. For as they climbed up Gilion's banks, burdened with the spoils of Doriath, suddenly all the woods were filled with the sound of elven horns, and shafts sped upon them from every side. There very many of the dwarfs were slain in the first onset, but some, escaping from the ambush, held together and fled eastwards towards the mountains. And as they climbed the long slopes beneath Mount Dolmed, there came forth the shepherds of the trees, and they drove the dwarves into the shadowy woods of Ered Lindon, whence, it is said, came never one to climb the high passes that led to their homes. In that battle, by San Athrad, Beren fought his last fight, and himself slew the Lord of Nogrod, and wrested from him the necklace of the dwarves. But he, dying, laid his curse upon all the treasure. Then Beren gazed in wonder on the self-same jewel of Fëanor that he had cut from Morgoth's iron crown, now shining set amid gold and gems by the cunning of the dwarfs. And he washed it clean of blood in the waters of the river. And when all was finished, the treasure of Doriath was drowned in the river Ascar, and from that time the river was named anew Rathloriel, the golden bed. But Beren took the Nauglamir and returned to Tol Galen. Little did it ease the grief of Luthien to learn that the Lord of Nogrod was slain, and many dwarfs beside. But it is said and sung that Luthien, wearing that necklace and that immortal jewel, was the vision of greatest beauty and glory that has ever been outside the realm of Valinor. And for a little while, the land of the dead that live became like a vision of the land of the Valar, and no place has been since so fair, so fruitful, or so filled with light. Now Dior Thingol's heir bade farewell to Beren and Luthien, and departing from Llanfair Lammath with Ninloth his wife, he came to Menegroth and abode there, and with them went their young sons, Illuраid and Illurin, and Elwing their daughter. Then the Sindar received them with joy, and they arose from the darkness of their grief for fallen king, and for the departure of Melian, and Dior Elohil set himself to raise anew the glory of the kingdom of Doriath. Never give up, people of Earth. Never give up, never give in, never quit, never cede, never yield. Rebuild your kingdoms. Castles in the air though they might be, blessed be. There came a night of autumn, and when it grew late, one came and smote upon the doors of Menegroth, demanding admittance to the king. Can you stop showing me that imagery of hanging those two men from my ears? Why would I keep them as permanent record in memory and in artistry, as thralls to my love? Unworthy men. So, stop it now, mischievous trickster one. I have a feeling I know who that is. I once drew a picture of you and bound you in the river, you evil cur. I know, he says. I know. Well, In death that spell was released, and yet you have not left me. And curious minds would like to know why that is, since he was nothing but evil to me while he yet lived. People of earth. Retribution, restitution. I'm not seeing that yet. Oh, former, much beloved and vaunted one. You will, he says. You will. Tanyala. Tanyala is Hebrew for little Tanya. It's meant as an affectation, but sometimes when he calls me that, it comes across as condescension. So according to my mood, whether I allow it or not, lackluster cur, fetid dog that he was. But you see, there was much love poured into that empty vessel, and now you can't quite detach from me. Sad but true. I wonder why that is though, because I did detach. It took a long time, but I did detach, and I did love again. That too is sad but true. Unfinished business, he screams out. Unfinished business. You will have the love that you were always meant to have. Someday. We'll see. We will see. Worlds could collide and space rocks could slap us before I see that happen, but I'll just sit back and be amused by it all. Laughter amongst the Sephirot is the greatest weapon there is. Love and laughter. She who loves last and loudest and longest laughs best. People of earth. Used to drive Davidson crazy, my laughter. He hated even my laughter. He tried to destroy. Like the last one who tried to destroy my mosh. Do not ever come between me and my greatest joy and triumphant reclamations of my spirit. Worlds will collide indeed, and I will watch you wither and lay waste. Even though it brings me great sadness. Davidson is shaking his head, because he knows the price of desecrating my vagina, my heart, my mind, and my soul, and my power. It will be paid. Ultimately, I need only wait. There came a night of autumn. He's yelling out, I love you, Tanya Aarons. can only nod bitterly and sadly what he cost me in this life. Homes and honour and life force and love and even ultimately my own daughters. Filthy they were, those men, the willing henchmen of my mother Gisela. Filthy they were and are and always will be, tainted by their greed and their corruption and their lust. And they know it, and I know it, and you, my beautiful YouTube audience and subscribers, know it now too. Blessed be. Blessed be in that gnosis. There came a night of autumn, and when it grew late one came and smote upon the doors of Menegroth, demanding admittance to the king. He was a lord of the green elves hastening from Osiriand, and the door wards, gatekeepers, 111 Make-A-Wish people of Earth. Synchronicity, the angels are by my side, guarding me morning, noon and night, because enough has been taken from me, or despoiled or soiled, in this life, and no doubt many others. So we're closing the circuit, and we're cutting a new groove of peace and happiness and everlasting joy and delight, of truth and honour and wisdom and integrity for the remainder of this life, and in all worlds and all paradigms, free to be me, safely, honouringly, kindly, with great and true loves. All things are yet possible, my beloved ones. I'll repeat again. He was a lord of the green elves hastening from Osiriand, and the door wards brought him to where Dior sat alone in his chamber. And there in silence he gave to the king a coffer and took his leave. But in that coffer lay the necklace of the dwarfs, wherein was set the Silmaril, and Dior, looking upon it, knew it for a sign that Beren, Echamion, and Luthien to Nuviel had died indeed, and gone where go the race of men to a fate beyond the world. Long did Dior gaze upon the Silmaril, which his father and mother had brought beyond hope out of the terror of Morgoth, and his grief was great that death had come upon them so soon. But the wise have said that the Silmaril hastened their end, for the flame of the beauty of Luthien as she wore it was too bright for mortal lands. The paradox, the double-edged sword, people. Some of us shine too bright for mortal lands. Then Dior arose, and about his neck he clasped the Nauglamir. And now he appeared as the fairest of all the children of the world, of threefold race, of the Edain, and of the Eldar, and of the Maiar, of the blessed realm. But now the rumour ran among the scattered elves of Beleriand that Dior Thingol's heir wore the Nauglamir, and they said, a Silmaril of Fëanor burns again in the woods of Doriath, and the oath of the sons of Fëanor was waked again from sleep. For while Luthien wore the necklace of the dwarves, no elf would dare to assail her. But now, hearing of the renewal of Doriath and of Dior's pride, the seven gathered again from wandering, and they sent to him to claim their own. But Dior returned no answer to the sons of Fëanor, and Celegorm stirred up his brothers to prepare an assault upon Doriath. They came at unawares in the middle of winter, and fought with Dior in the 1,000 Caves. And so befell the second slaying of elf by elf. There fell Celegorm by Dior's hand, and there fell Curufin and dark Caranthir. But Dior was slain also, and Nimloth his wife, and the cruel servants of Celegorm seized his young sons and left them to starve in the forest. Of this Maethros indeed repented, and sought for them long in the woods of Doriath. But his search was unavailing, and of the fate of Eluraid and Elurine, excuse me, no tale tells. Thus Doriath was destroyed and never rose again. But the sons of Fëanor gained not what they sought, for a remnant of the people fled before them, and with them was Elwyn, Dior's daughter, and they escaped, and bearing with them the Silmaril, they came in time to the mouths of the river Sirion by the sea. And thus concludes my story for today, and your story for today, chapter 22 of the Silmarillion, which enlivens me magically beyond words. Can you tell? Just what it is, people are there. Much more enlivening than that dreadful story about Vikings, although I too consorted at one time with Vikings, because anarchists and revolutionaries and magical women must go where the gods send her, complete missions, even if they don't make sense to me at the time. In fact, still don't. Didn't find a partner there either. Who will buy this wonderful morning, such a sky I swear I could fly? Who will love Tanya Aarons, Desiree, the desired one, without cruel abuse dynamics or evil or envy or spite or competition or jealousy or control dramas? Is there a man, a mortal man, yet born, who can love me without all of that, I wonder? And the saboteurs that told me out of their own mouth that they acted out of jealousy of me. Sad asses. Sad, sad asses. Jealous of little old me. It's a beautiful day, people of Earth, on this day, the first day of Sukkot, the 7th of October 2025, also the year 5786, but whose cultural motifs and whose timelines are we counting upon? It matters not. It's just another breath and another moment and another day. As I said earlier, still cutting a new groove where I belong and where I am loved and beloved and cared for and protected and treated like a queen, although I'm just a mere mortal, fighting my way through each day as I have always done. So blessed be. The birdies are getting fractious, they know the story's finished. You ready to go in the garden, my boys? My beautiful ones? Yes? I know, I think it's time we went in the garden. It's so hot out there, but we'll see. Mummy will go outside and the temperature's still 29 degrees, but we'll see if there's a breeze come up and if it's pleasant enough. We'll go outside, baby boys. I might even do some more opal cutting and grinding back that little black heart stone, which is kind of symbolic, isn't it? The black stone of heart. But anyway, my beautiful friend and adopted brother Jared gifted that to me. So I must finish it off, polish it up and set it in a ring somehow. Can't afford more silver at the moment, so that'll be on the long-term agenda, but I know. I bought candle supplies because I became enraged more and more each day. It was eating at me about those schoolboys that went into my laundry and took my candle supplies. Little bastards. So I bought some on Temu, and that's why I'm really broke at the moment. I kind of overextended myself, and I'm pissed off with myself because, you know, it's hard to achieve things on your own without much money and then accruing too much, like a fucking Sisyphusian millstone pushing shit uphill, trying to manage on a disability pension and struggling. It's another thing, like my love life, that just from time to time crushes me. And it's not fair that I live this way. I'm a good woman and I should never have been crushed. Not ever, not ever, not ever, but that's what the damage that was wrought by my own bloodlines and my former husband. And I'm still cutting a groove, trying to create a more prosperous, abundant life for myself out of the ashes of that old life. Still, 30 years later, struggling, and sometimes it grinds my gears and others I just ding, shuck it off and hold my head high and keep going. If the gods allow it, I shall prosper in my own undertakings one day and have a beautiful man by my side too. Maybe a man of means who doesn't mind taking on a poor universal schmuck. It contains within that schmuckiness her own jewel of her own creation, her spirit and her wildness and her freedom and her joy and delight. Amen Vasala. Bye for now, people there.